Good morning, everyone. Welcome to council. Beautiful day out there today. Before we start, I have to send regrets for our Deputy Warden Perla will not be here with us today. Can I have approval of the agenda that you all have in front of you? Thank you, Councillor Can I get a seconder for that, please? Second by Councillor Bourne. All in favor? Motion carried. Approval of the May 26, 2025 council minutes. Can I get a motion for it? Moved by Councillor Donovan, second by Councillor Hennick. All in favor? Motion carried. We have a presentation today. Mr. Dingwall up to the Cape Breton University. If you want to come forward, Jessica will explain the mic to you. Yes. No problem. It's just the rule. You have 20 minutes for your presentation and questions. I'm going to get the counselors to introduce themselves, and then you can introduce yourself to us, and then we can go from there. We'll start right here.
Yeah, not on my papers. Good morning. I'm Donna Matheson-LaFord, District 1. That would be Wadmacook and Washabuk Peninsula. Welcome.
Good morning, Rosella Bourne, District 4, and that would be St. Anne's, Englishtown, Big Harbor, South Haven, quite a large district, right up to the base of Smoky Mountain. Welcome.
Good morning, Jess Carr, District 3, Baddeck area, down as far as Crescent.
I got it. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Fraser Patterson. I'm the councillor for District 5, which is Bulladree, which you drove through this morning on the way here, and across the water, New Campbellton, New Harris, and numerous other communities that are on that side. Thank you.
Tim Donovan, councillor for District 6. That's from the summit of Cape Smoky to North Ingonish.
Wanda Hennick, I am the councillor for District 8. That's Dingwall, Cape North, Bay St. Lawrence, and Capstick. Nice to meet you.
Morning, I'm Jackie Organ. I'm the warden, and I'm also councillor for District 7. That's from North Ingonish down to District 8 there. Can you introduce yourselves, please?
Yes, my name is David Dingwall. I'm the President and Vice Chancellor of Cape Breton University. And with me is Sarah Burke. She's the Vice President of Development for Cape Breton University.
Make sure you have your green light on and go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Warden and Chief Administrative Officer, as well as councillors, for allowing us to appear here today. The last time I was in this building, Judge Kelly was sitting where you're sitting, and I was a defendant, a lawyer of the defendant, and it went quite well. Mr. Kelly was a fine man. So I'm glad to be back here in this beautiful part of the province. As some of you may know, I've spent a lot of time in Victoria County during my public career, interfacing with a variety of different individuals. So today what I'd like to do is to share Cape Breton University's remarkable journey, the impact we have made, and the bold ambitions that we have for the future. This marks our 5th and final municipal visit since February, following productive visits to Inverness, the CBRM, Richmond County, and Port Hawkesbury. Before I dive into some of the particulars I'd like to share, I was hoping that we could show a brief video.
Population was on the decline as some islanders sought work in the West. While the island's industrial base essentially disappeared, that modest stone building in downtown Sydney that opened its doors in 1951 continued to grow, evolving from a small school with a few hundred students to a technical college with degree granting status to the second largest university in Nova Scotia. Here's the thing, and this is the most beautiful, most inspiring part of our story. Today, CBU welcomes students from more than 70 countries around the world. And for the first time in a very long time, Cape Breton's population is on the rise. And the island's university continues to persevere, helping to build a stronger, more sustainable island so future generations can stay and thrive with community in mind and community in their hearts. You see, it's all come full circle. Those generous newcomers who many years ago laid the foundation for what is now CBU paved the way for this new generation to once again seek out Cape Breton, and this time, not just to work, but to learn and to grow. And that, my friends, is a beautiful thing.
An academic institution. It is a catalyst for innovation, economic growth, and social progress in our region. I'd like to give you a snapshot of some of our significant milestones. We were the first in a number of provinces in Canada that developed a partnership with Dalhousie University for the creation of a medical school on our campus. This will be the home for future doctors from rural Nova Scotia. And I want to underline that, rural Nova Scotia, everything outside the HRN. So the med school will be part and parcel of our healthcare system, and it will provide tremendous impact in terms of the healthcare of all of our citizens. We earned a $12.4 million investment from Research Nova Scotia for Homeward Bound, which is a project providing healthcare, housing, and social support for aging populations across the island. Through our World Tourism Institute, the Community Engagement Van Program combined a $5 million investment into rural Cape Breton, if you will, in order to take skilled workers to various accommodations here in Cape Breton. We transformed the Canada Games complex under the name of Jim and the late Roma Kehoe. It is a hub for female hockey, along with a fitness center, walking track, and a health and counseling center. In conjunction with Nova Scotia Health, our collaborative healthcare clinic in the Marconi campus will house 10,000 persons for a community healthcare clinic. In 2018, we've invested more than 47 million to modernize our facilities. Keep in mind that the facilities at CBU had not been upgraded for over 55 years. Soon we will announce a new campus childcare center, another critical investment in supporting students, their families, faculty, and staff. However, you know, there has been some bumps along the road. Government funding cuts have forced difficult decisions, impacting not just the institution, but indeed the broader community. Additionally to that, the sudden federal policy changes in immigration has had a major impact on the university. Canada is one of the world's leading destinations for international students, has now slipped to 5th in the world. So it's going to be a long way back, but persons need to understand that. And I say here, as I've said in other communities across Cape Breton, including Halifax and beyond, international students are not a burden. They are our future entrepreneurs, our healthcare workers, and community builders. And I, as the president, will continue to advocate for that. In the last number of years, we began what is known as the Forever CBU Capital Campaign Program. It's an ambitious campaign of over $205 million. The campaign is funding transformational projects. Kehoe Forum is one of those. The Nancy Dingwall Health and Counseling Center will expand healthcare access for students and the broader community. We've made new partnerships with Acadia University to provide them with a school of nursing. Our school of nursing houses about 166 nurses. Later this year, we will break ground on a new Center for Discovery and Innovation, which will be about $140 million, centered in the middle of the campus. The Marshall Institute will be part of the CDI. The Marshall Institute, who is he? Well, Donald Marshall was a person who was incarcerated wrongly for 11 years. And for Indigenous people across Cape Breton Island, he's an icon. And we will make part of that facility, as shown on your screen, an integral part of the university. Now, the new medical campus, which I referenced earlier, is a game changer. Training doctors committed to rural Nova Scotia, enforcing a return to service clause to keep graduates practicing in our rural Nova Scotia communities is pretty important. We are preparing students for the real world collaborative care environments. CBU is one of the most modern, collaborative, and future-ready campuses in Atlantic Canada. Victoria County and its citizens have always been valued partners of Cape Breton University. So this morning, I'm seeking to deepen that partnership. Today, I respectfully ask for the Victoria County support for the Forever CBU with a contribution of approximately $5 per resident for a total of $35,000. Your investment will directly support projects that build a stronger, healthier, and more prosperous Cape Breton for generations to come. Today, we can ensure that CBU remains not just a university, but a powerhouse for the entire region. And in fact, I believe one of your residents or former residents, Dr. Annalie Coakley, is the assistant dean of medicine at Cape Breton University. She's here, she's in Inverness, she's at the World Health Organization, she's in Sydney. She's quite a powerful force. So that is my pitch for this morning, your warden. I'd be happy to respond to any questions. Just to say that in our previous presentations to other municipal units, they've been very supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Dingwall on?
Sir.
You mentioned that the medical school is strictly for rural Nova Scotia. How do you plan on enforcing that?
Well, one needs to know and understand that the number of applications that go into Dalhousie Medical School, McGill, University of Toronto are astronomical. Most of the kids, if not the vast majority of those kids from Nova Scotia, do not get to medical school. So we made a decision, a conscious decision, after extensive research in Australia, parts of Europe, rest of Canada, even the United States, that our facility would be for rural Nova Scotians. So if you are from downtown Halifax, don't apply. If you're from rural Nova Scotia, apply. And you'll have a chance, provided, of course, you've got the marks. And as you look at the number of kids that don't get into med school, they all have the marks to get into med school, forcing many of them to leave Canada, to go to Ireland, to go to Barbados, to go to some other countries in order to get their medical degree in order to come back to Nova Scotia. Here's the problem. So you go away, you incur about $150,000 in debt, and you come back. Well, you can't get a certificate in Nova Scotia for about 3 years, if not 5 years. So we've made it a pre-entry that you need to be from rural Nova Scotia, number one. Number two is you have to sign a 5-year agreement, which says that you will go back to a designation in rural Nova Scotia. Thirdly, you have to tell us in a letter as to why you want to go to med school and why do you want to practice in rural Nova Scotia. So we thought, well, you know, we're going to take 30 students. We may get 45 or 50 students that would be interested. Well, we had 135 that are interested to go to rural Nova Scotia. So that's how we monitor it, and that's how we protect for the services of rural Nova Scotians.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Dingwall, for your presentation. It's really informative, and we'll look forward to working with you again. Thank you.
Well, I hope so, Madam Warden and colleagues. This is a very major adventure for those of us at CBU. The med school is just about completed. The kids are going to be here in August. They've all been assigned rooms, et cetera, et cetera. But the benefits that this will bring to all of Nova Scotia, not just rural Nova Scotians, but all Nova Scotians, will be something we have never seen. I don't get out of the office at the end of the day without getting 2 or 3 calls from around the world, whether they come from New Zealand, Australia, wherever, very interested in coming to practice medicine, to deliver services for rural citizens. And I think that's a foundation for all of us to have doctors in our community where we don't have to be running across the province to get that kind of service. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to make our submission. I know I'm just at 20 minutes. I'm not even 1 minute over. You run a good meeting. I should take you back to CBU. Trying to deal with those professors. Oh my God. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you.
I have one question, President Dingwall. Just wondering, so your ask, is that an annual ask or is that a one-time, or how are you expecting that ask to be fulfilled?
That's an excellent question, and thank you for posing it.
That's why she's the money lady. She's
No, it's one time, 35,000. You could do it over 2 years. One time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next we have Ms. AIKENS from the ACAP, Big BRETON presentation.
Yeah.
Oh, I can reach over. It's just the click through like that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good morning. Since you weren't here, I can get the counselors to introduce themselves, and then you can introduce yourself to us again.
Wonderful.
We'll start here.
Good morning, Donna Matheson LaFord, District 1, and that would contain Wagmatcook and Washabuck Peninsula. Thank you. Welcome today.
Good morning. My name is Rosella Bourne. I'm Counselor District 2, and that would be like Englishtown, South Haven, St. Anne's, all the way up to the base of Smoky. Welcome.
Good morning, I'm Jess Carr, District 3 here in Baddeck down as far as Crescent Road.
Good morning. My name is Fraser Patterson. I'm the counselor for District 5, which is Bulladree. Okay, and my name is Tim Donovan. I'm the counselor for District 6 or 7. He stepped out for a minute.
I am Wanda Hennick. I'm from District 8, which would be Dingwall, Cape North, Bay St. Lawrence, and Capstick.
And I'm Counselor Jackie Organ, and I'm for District 7 from Northern Inish to South Harbor to Wanda's district there. Welcome.
Wonderful.
You have 20 minutes for your presentation and questions, and we're looking forward to this.
Great.
Go ahead.
I'm delighted to be here. Good morning, warden, counselors, staff, anybody else behind me in the gallery. My name is Kathleen AIKENS. I'm the executive director of ACAP Cape Breton. Related to our last presentation, I'm actually an alumna of CBU. I graduated 19 years ago, and about 1 year ago this time, I was putting a tree in the ground with President Dingwall. So I'm a big fan of CBU personally. I think it set me on my current path, but I'm here to talk about ACAP Cape Breton. I don't have a specific ask for you today. As I go through this presentation, what I'm going to ask you to think about is potentially what a partnership, what working more closely together could bring for the council. And I'm hoping to keep a close eye on time so that there is time for questions. There we go. Third click's the charm. So at ACAP, our mission is to support resilient, environmentally sustainable communities across the island. So we've been around for about 33 years now, and we were established in proximity to the Sydney tar ponds. Our purpose was to protect that area, help with public engagement in the face of this massive environmental challenge. But over the last 30 years, we have evolved. So our areas of work include habitat restoration, which is about restoring, rebuilding damaged habitats, climate adaptation, reforestation, rebuilding wetlands, things like that. We also do monitoring and research. This can include species at risk research or monitoring that ties into the restoration work we do to make sure it's successful. We do a lot of environmental education. Each year we reach over 2,000 students across mainly the CBRM and Inverness County, although we also seek for additional funds to be able to reach youth in other parts of the island. And we actually just launched 2 days ago a program we're calling Riparian Zone Ready with support from the Canada Water Agency, which includes working with youth group to do monitoring and habitat restoration and education in each county of the island. So there is a group here in Victoria County. And then finally, we also do waste diversion work, working with solid waste departments. We run a program called the Trash Formers, as well as do other work. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. It also makes sense for me now to talk about what our financial model is a little bit, because that affects the scope of work that we do. And that's part of my job, to have my head wrapped around the numbers. So we receive most of our funding through competitive federal grants. Sometimes they're longer term grants, which is excellent. We're partners on the 2 billion tree program federally, as well as we work with Fisheries and Oceans Canada, Environment and Climate Change Canada, the Canada Water Agency, and then we sometimes apply for a bunch of small grants to be able to do what we do well. Youth development is a huge focus for us, and it's a personal passion for me. Having both children, youth, teenagers, and then young adults, young environmental professionals see themselves as part of this work going forward. Every year we host between 15 to 18 youth interns for paid internships at our offices. We have eco partnerships with 2 municipalities at this point. Our longest eco partnership has been with the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. We work with them on source water protection very closely. So the drinking water, we do both data collection, public education, we do water conservation work, solid waste work as well through the trash formers, and then wastewater and stormwater work, which is a big challenge in the face of climate change and a big challenge in industrial Cape Breton. Over the last year, we've initiated a program focusing on at-risk pollinators across the island. So we've visited farms basically all around the island and worked with farmers to develop plans that supported healthy pollinator communities. Pollination is incredibly important for agriculture. It's also really important for just keeping our ecosystems going. And this particular project focused particularly on species at risk, including some of our bumblebees and the kind of iconic monarch butterfly. We also do forest restoration now, which is really exciting for us. I won't talk at length about this, but our focus is to take our expertise in environmental science, biology, ecology, and apply that to academic research, and then actually get trees in the ground. So the right tree in the right place. This can result in things like better protection for our rivers and streams. Fish habitat is really, really important for tourism, but also for ecosystem health. And our forest restoration takes into consideration the protection of some of our rivers here on the island. We have about 17,000 trees at our storage facility right now. Our storage facility is currently ACAP staff member Jen Cooper's backyard. It's all fenced in and protected from deer. This year, we're aiming to have about 50 to 70,000 trees in the ground. And over the next 8 years in total, about 500,000 trees. So it's pretty ambitious. We do a lot of, as I said, freshwater work. Habitat connectivity for fish is super important. Not everybody, if you're a fisher and you're out in the streams, you're probably thinking about this, but one of the things with climate change, our waters are increasing in temperature. It is very important for aquatic organisms, certainly like the really important ones like salmon and trout, but also all the way down to the really humble freshwater mussels that filter water, provide really important environmental services like clean water for everything else, creating shade, increasing connectivity. There are other interventions this team does too to improve watershed health. And this group in the picture is most of our interns from last summer spending the day with the so-called stream team. We also run summer field trips, camps. We work with schools, and this particular group of happy young people were doing an outdoor camp with us. They were lucky enough to see a snapping turtle in the wild during that camp, which I think was a highlight for them and not something most of us get to do. And then there's our trash formers. This is a crew of 5 young people that travel around mostly the CBRM. Occasionally they get to take road trips to other counties for special cleanups, and they do education, host community cleanups, and they also remove litter themselves. And trash is definitely, I'm putting in a few slides here at the end around trash. We know this is a persistent issue in Victoria County all around. I've spent a lot of time in the CBRM. I'm from Upper Leeches Creek originally, living now in Coxie, so I see a lot of it. I've seen how it's gotten worse since I was young. Part of that is because we're just, despite our commitments to recycling, we're producing more and more single-use materials. It's still economically expedient to do that. But it is a major threat to tourism. The more we understand about the human health impacts of plastic, the more frightening it is. It's honestly, I've seen people struggle with mental health once they get into volunteering heavily in community cleanups, because it is fairly overwhelming. And then of course there's environmental impacts. It's a huge challenge to try to tackle the littering, illegal dumping. We also have an issue of like unsecured loads traveling on our highways, and that contributes to waste, and especially waste in areas where it's often not safe to pick it up, and where our team, our team cannot pick up in some of those areas because it's just not safe from a workplace perspective. And I know the province has had similar challenges. In terms of causes and potential interventions there is success from running large-scale campaigns. We've seen this in other jurisdictions like Texas or Australia. And there was a good report commissioned by Divert Nova Scotia in 2022 that I've linked. One of the things that comes up a lot is fining people and whether we should be increasing fines massively. And the thing I will add on to that is that it's not so much about the size of the fine that deters people, it's the likelihood of being caught. And it is tricky to catch people when they're doing illegal dumping, but there are potential interventions that maybe working across multiple levels with respect to unsecured loads and things like ticketing blitzes or things like that. And so I talked a little bit more about trash because I know that's part of what brought me here. We do a lot of work in habitat conservation, preservation, restoration. We love working with communities. I'm not necessarily here with a financial ask. This could be the beginning of deciding to work together to seek funds from other sources. Some of the things that we can do is help with grant writing for federal grants and partner in that way. Nonprofit organizations, we're a charitable nonprofit, we sometimes have access to funds that municipalities don't, and vice versa. So for example, right now in our funding mix, about 25% of our total funding is municipal partnerships, but about 50% of the total money coming into our organization ends up dedicated to municipalities because we leverage that funds. We seek federal funds. We hire youth interns who are graduates or even postgraduates to help us bring in the latest research, the latest work in what we do, so that we do the work well together. And I think that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions, any musing or other discussions. And I thank you so much for giving me the honor of presenting today.
Councillor Bourne.
Thank you for that presentation. The first question, I have two,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure if you can answer this question. It may not be something you've had asked, but you talked about forest restoration, and I'm just questioning, what about forest management? And I know that's a separate department.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you're there, although we're looking at forest restoration, after Fiona, for example, there's a lot of still, then we look at the environment issues and forest fires. Is that something you ever get looped into or?
Yes. And it's something that I've thought about too, because there's a number of aspects of this. Sometimes we try to work in strategic ways, policy-wise. If we see, for example, one aspect of forest management, if we see a stand of forest that for various reasons, maybe it's a swamp forest and so it's absorbing a lot of stormwater, or maybe it actually is approaching old growth status, we might advocate on a policy perspective that here's the evidence and this is why this forest should stay. We aren't always successful. We recognize that there's competing challenges. When it comes to things like forest management, downed trees, forest fire risk, we don't work there in that area yet. It is possible in the future. We have team members that are trained as chainsaw operators professionally. We understand some of the dynamics. For example, if you leave your wood standing, as many of you know, it dries out. It increases this forest fire risk. With Fiona, we got more down trees. So if we sink those into the ground, that's a possibility. We don't really see at this point, one of our challenges, funding to be able to do that, because you need to pay trained staff members. You have to get access to the training for them, keep them up to date. It's a possibility, but not at present.
Okay, thank you. And the second question that I have, and you talked about tourism,
Mm-hmm.
and has Nova Scotia or any Cape Breton destination, or do they fund any portion or for funding because of tourism, and because there could be a partnership there?
Yeah, there could be.
Because like with tourists brings, of course, potential dumping, or not just locals, but it could be. So I'm just wondering if there is any part of that that would be.
Not at this time, but it is a possibility for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh,
Really a question, but a comment. That Divert Nova Scotia report is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they did behavioral analysis, research on it, because I don't think people understand how complicated the psychology behind littering is. It's not as simple as just chucking something out of your car. There's like about 4 different psychological profiles of why people litter, basically. So it's a great report if anybody wants to read it.
It is, yeah. And it's good to make use of that commission.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah.
It's an incredible tool.
your trash formers,
Mm-hmm.
do they go into schools?
From time to time, they do. Because they're students though, most of their work, it happens between June through August. We do have an education team that does some waste education as well. Yeah,
Okay.
we try not to duplicate what our solid waste educators through divert. We know municipalities have access to some of that, so we provide complementary education.
Yeah, I think that really should start in primary with the,
Yeah.
to make those children act their parents. Do you do anything like with beach cleanups or you do that too?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
That's a shame that our beaches are, well, all our roads. But anyway, does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay, go. Councillor Donovan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had lengthy discussions, illegal dumping and littering in general. I'm almost at the point personally of thinking that it's not so much education anymore, because I think most people realize that it's wrong to litter and it's wrong to dump your trash. The issue is, how do you make them stop?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said in your presentation, many times most times it's impossible to catch someone in the act when it comes to illegal dumping. Perhaps with funding, cameras and that sort of thing may at least deter it or slow it down a bit.
Yeah, there's the research suggests, and other jurisdictions, and I mentioned a few earlier, that shame can be that sense of being watched, and there's some limited groups, for example, like teenage boys, that doesn't tend to work. They tend to reinforce each other according to the research. But as a whole, that sense of like, I will get found out, and so that you're being watched, that is a powerful one. And like I said, the likelihood of getting caught. And there are some ways to look at where could there be interventions. And I think that would take a multi-scale, like not just Victoria County, but also support from province highways, maybe even law enforcement, to do some checks around securing loads. Yeah.
Oh, Councillor Bourne?
Adopt a highway.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work with companies or businesses that would support funding to ACAP, and then they would support that? We put their business sign up, kind of. I don't know if that's done here.
That's provincially run, and now I think subcontracted to a nonprofit on the mainland. But there are requirements, for example, adopt a highway. The highways with speed limit of 100 kilometers or more are not allowable for adopt a highway. There's concerns about safety once you go above a certain speed, like rocks, that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So just based on the amount of interaction and the questions, I'm thinking that it might be something council might be interested in forming some type of partnership with ACAP. So if we were interested in doing that, what are the steps we'd have to ask you to partnership with us?
Well, I think it looks different based on every municipality or partner's needs. So I think a first step would be sit down in a smaller group and discuss like what are the needs of the municipality and better understand what we can do. If there's a need to apply for funding, that of course takes time. So figuring out the timelines, if there's an interest in working mainly around waste and education, then we can start to shape something around that.
If we discuss as council here who maybe would like to be part of a subgroup, can we then get in contact with you?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm the next step in that, and then I'll bring members of my team together.
Excellent, thank you.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. And maybe we'll look forward to working with you in the future.
We hope so. Thank you so much.
We're gonna break for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you remember the PR of the first?
Going to start with district highlights, and we'll start with Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Warden. Not a whole lot to convey today. One fairly important thing though, Nova Scotia Power contacted me about a week and a half ago. They were looking to set up a meeting with local residents to give them guidance on how to sign up for the credit monitoring after they had their cyber attack. That is actually going on in about 2 o'clock, I believe it starts. They're hosting it at the Legion in Ingonish. So anyone who does have questions or needs assistance in signing up for credit monitoring, today is the day. The only other thing I have on my list, it's not so much highlight as it is the low light. I learned a couple of weeks ago that the daycare center in Ingonish is their proposed opening date has now been pushed again from August to October, which is unfortunate as school starts in September. And for me, sorry to end it on a bad note, but that's it for me for today.
That's too bad to hear. Councillor Donovan, what's the Nova Scotia Power thing? This is the first I've heard of it. So was it advertised?
It was advertised on social media, and I believe they do have it there's a large information sign at the location at the Legion, and I believe it is on there as well.
Okay. Councillor Hennick?
I had seen it on another social page and I copied it and I put it on there for people to be aware. And I also shared it that it was going to be there today.
So Councillor Hennick, you can start with your district concerns or highlights.
All right, I'm going to start off the St. Margaret CWL online auction will end today at 6 p.m. So if you want to get some bids in on some great seafood and some great items, please do so by bidding ends at 6. We have some Canada Day celebrations coming up throughout District 8. First at the Bay St. Lawrence Community Center, they're going to have breakfast from 10 to 11:30 and then fun and games from 12 to 3. North Highlands Community Museum will be having cake and activities from 1 to 3. And then ending with Northern Waves Development Society from 3 to 5, barbecue games and entertainment. Other upcoming events that's going to be going on in District 8 will be Cabot Day, July 6 from 12 to 3. Come out for a fun afternoon with entertainment, cake, barbecue, and the reenactment of the landing of John Cabot. July 20th, Bay St. Lawrence Fire Department will be having their annual Fish and Derby and Crab Fest, so mark that date down. That's usually a great fun afternoon for young to old. Cape North Farmers Market will be starting their season soon on Saturdays at the Cabot Fire Hall. Date to be announced shortly. I had a request to put a street light at 2734 at Cabot Trail, which is out in Big Interval, across from the Maple Ridge Cabins. The residents said that the road is very dark in that area with the sights of coyotes. people walking, that is really a safety issue and would like to see a street light put there. But I was notified from Steph that all Nova Scotia street lights will be put on hold until after this cyber attack situation is straightened out. So we'll move on those requests once that gets done. Lobster fishing is halfway through. I heard some awesome reports and some very good catches in the area, so which is very good for our local fishing people. Last off, I would like to congratulate all the graduates from Cabot High and Baddeck Academy for 2025. All your hard work has finally paid off. So that's it for District 8.
Thank you, Councillor Hennick. A busy time in District 8. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Warden. Just on that last note, Councillor Hennick, I was able to report a repair to a street light on the phone, and I don't know if they're taking new requests or not, but when you look at the website, it has a list of things, and one of them is repair street lights, and to phone this number. And I did. Didn't take very long, a couple of minutes, and I was through. So, and apparently they've got the situation under control now too. So just in District 5, first of all, it's summer again, of course, and July 1st, there'll be a celebration at the Marine Park in Ross Ferry, music by local Ross Ferry resident Daryl Kagan, and the Marine Park is open every Sunday. It's open all the time, really, but on Sundays they have hot dogs and sausage and so on, French fries, and people can just, you know, spend some time there if the weather's good. Also in Big Bredor in July is the Big Wave Festival, which they are now planning. It's gone on for a number of years. Other than that, we're just looking forward to a good summer. They are paving a part of the Kempted Road on the south side of Bulladree as we speak. So that's a sign of progress. Other than that, everybody seems to be fairly happy that summer is here, and except for the black flies, everything is unfolding as it should, I guess. Thank you.
Councillor Patterson, Councillor Kerr.
Yes, I'd like to echo Councillor Hennick's wishes there and congratulating all the graduates in Cape Breton or in Victoria County this year. And we're certainly wishing them all the best in their future endeavors. Again, our streets are a major concern to the residents of the state they're in, and parking is getting to be quite an issue here as well over the summer months. So the boardwalk project is continuing well. They seem to be making great progress down there. Our rink committee and citizens are still trying hard to get the federal portion of the money needed to get our rink off the ground. And we have a new restaurant opening in town, the Main Street it's called, Main Street 2 or whatever. Anyway, we certainly wish them well in their future endeavors. They're hoping to be open by around the end of the month. So, and there was a birthday celebration at Alderwood for Mrs. Florence Shaw, who just turned 102. So we certainly congratulate her, and she's sharp as a tack.
You, Councillor Bourne.
Thank you, Warden. I would like to congratulate Joanne and John McDonald of Englishtown on the occasion of their 65th wedding anniversary, which they will celebrate on July 2nd. It is a privilege to recognize this remarkable milestone, and I wish them continued happiness and good health in the years ahead. As such, I would like to make a motion that the municipality prepare an official certificate of recognition to be presented to Mr. and Mrs. McDonald in honor of their 65th wedding anniversary. I'll be proud to present the certificate on behalf of council.
Need to be a motion. We'll just send a letter off to them.
I have it.
Okay. Certificate. Okay.
Thank you. I'm proud to share that former District 4 Councillor Barbara Longva has been selected as the featured artisan of the 2025 Craft Capital Cape Breton Flyer. This widely distributed artisan trail map for tourists and locals highlight the exceptional craftsmanship found in our region, and Barbara's work will be showcased on the front cover. Additionally, I'm pleased to note that 11 artisan shops from District 4 are included in this year's flyer. Congratulations to all featured artisans, and I wish everyone a successful and rewarding tourist season. Public Works update. I've been in direct contact with Public Works Manager regarding the remaining bridge remnants and debris of the Bereshaw River, including the old timbers. I'm pleased to report that this issue is being addressed and should be resolved soon. I appreciate the follow-up by the area supervisor and glad to have supported efforts to move this forward for the benefit of the community. Road work is ongoing in the district with recent improvements near Little River. Once the road line painting is completed, crews will proceed with the installation of signage that have been reported missing and damaged. Traffic concerns on the Bay Road. I received several reports from residents concerning speeding along the Bay Road. In response, I've spoken with our MLA Timmins, and the RCMP have indicated they will increase patrols in the area. Additionally, Public Works will assess the road to determine whether the speed limit reduction is appropriate. Concerns regarding impaired driving. A concern that has been raised by several residents involving impaired driving, in particular incidents involving children as passengers. This has been a difficult topic to bring forward, but it is important. Reports have included the discovery of liquor bottles discarded along the roadside and a growing concern about road safety. I have spoken with Constable Jennifer Williams to share these concerns. We discussed increasing police visibility through more frequent stops and potentially engaging schools in awareness and prevention efforts. I will continue to follow up and keep council informed of any progress and recommendations. And as we move into the summer season, I'd like to wish everyone a safe, enjoyable, and restful summer. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Matheson-Laforde.
Okay, I'm going to start by patting myself on the back about something. No. So the small victories matter. The worn out sign for McCormick Park has been replaced. Big thanks to MLA Diane Timmins for working with me last week to get it done. So we're sticking on sometimes it's the little things that show progress as possible. So thank you. I called her one day. It was replaced that evening, which means that sign was sitting in a warehouse somewhere. I also, the big event that happened was another successful Eros Namera World Oceans Day Festival, week-long festival. This was the first one that I had ever attended because I wasn't living around here and I wasn't aware of it. But I mean, from the vibrant opening on June 1st to the final celebrations on June 8th, this year's festival was another fabulous week of activities. There was interactive learning sessions, music, food, inspiring presentations. I'm incredibly grateful for the community and the enthusiasm outside of the community to support events like this. The festival wouldn't even be possible without the hard work of all the amazing volunteers, exhibitors and partners. So their contributions to bring ocean awareness to life in such a meaningful, engaging way is it's absolutely amazing. So thank you, Eros Namera, for making the 9th annual festival a true celebration of our oceans. So congratulations on that. And one last thing, I was going to address it, but when I saw Natasha's highlight about our littering and campaign and pilot projects, there have been several mentions and concerns about the littering and asked me to bring it up in council, and I relayed to them that municipality is working on it. So it's nice to see that the information that was shared with me. So thank you very much. Anyway, and that's it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, District 7. Leanne and I met with Chief Bernard last week. Went really well, and we look forward to working with him in the future so our two councils can get together, and it's going to be good. Okay, now we're in the middle of an exciting emotional month for all students, but especially our graduates and their family. Picking out prom outfits, filling out college and bursary applications, suppers and parties to prepare for. A lot of questions are being asked, where you're going, what are you doing next year, what career are you choosing, or some big decisions and a lot of emotions for these students. Counselor Hennick and I had the opportunity to attend the grad supper at Cabot Education Center. What a lovely evening. A lot of happy, excited people there. You could see the pride in all the faces of all the parents and the guardians. I also had the privilege of attending my own granddaughter's graduation in Halifax West International Baccalaureate program, and will be traveling back up to see her graduate from high school. So now I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all the graduating students of Victoria County congratulations and good luck on any career path you have chosen. The world is yours to discover, so go out and make your mark. Remind you, behind you is all your memories, before you is all your dreams, around you is all who love you, and within you is all you need. So congrats. Trick 7. So now we're on for the Alex, it's like for municipal grants.
Hi, everyone. So the first thing that I have here is the recommendation report, which has been circulated to all of you. The first one that we're going to go through is the municipal grants. So this was all included in the report, but just a quick summary. So the process changed this year. So we had a committee, we reviewed all the applications, we scored all the applications, we prepared a summary based on the scoring, and then we used a tiered approach. So that is detailed again within the report, but essentially it was broken down into 100% of ask, 75% of ask, 50% of ask, 25% of ask, and not eligible. So, and again, all the scores and everything are in this report for counselors to take a look at, but we followed the very objective academic, like we didn't sway anything. We followed the scoring. You will note, I'll point it out, that some of the scores are like very close and then they fall into 2 different tiers. And that's because we did not put any sway into it whatsoever. It was what it was, and that's what we went with. So the recommendations that the committee is suggesting is included in the attached. So we started with a budget of $275,000, but 20,000 of this is already committed to, we're in year 4 of 5 as a 5-year agreement with the Cape Breton Hospital Foundation. So 20,000 was committed already. And then we do have annual scholarships to students. So we have set ones, and then we also have scholarships to any Victoria County students that may be attending Memorial or Sydney Academy. So we're just confirming those. So that's why it says estimated, but we have $4,000 earmarked for that. So that leaves $251,000 available for municipal grants. And the committee has recommended awarding $240,431 as detailed in the attached allocation. Included in this was Theatre Baddeck did ask for a 3-year commitment. They did this 3 years ago as well. And so the committee is also recommending renewing that and providing $10,000 for the next 3 years. There are 2 organizations that were not recommended for funding. One is CLANS. So funding for this programming that was specifically included in this application has been offered to this through that Senior Safety Social Network program, which Council just approved a couple months ago. So funding has been offered through that. So the committee did not feel that the application was suitable to go through this funding. And the Harbour Authority of Little River did not meet the minimum eligible score based on the application submitted. So that is the recommendation. There is the conflict of interest piece that I think was supposed to be discussed before conversation happens.
So if any of us are members or on the board or belong to the organization, when they come up, I'm asking you to leave the room, and somebody will come get you after those grants have been discussed.
And so I don't intend to go through them all, but if one of them comes up for discussion.
The approach is
If you, I think it's to declare if you have a conflict at, hopefully at the start. And then if there's any to discuss or any that you are, because the council has the final say on how the grants are awarded. So if you were to declare your conflict now, and then we're asking you to not speak on behalf of that organization if it's one that is to be spoken about or that council would like to discuss.
But the motion will be to approve all of it together, because if we asked you to abstain from voting, none of you would be here. So it's just to not speak is the.
Okay, so I'm going to say I have conflict with clans, but I have a statement here from the deputy warden. She's withdrawing her letter of support that she submitted as part of the development grant requirement for raising the village. So she's declining, she's sending her letter for that. Councillor Bourne?
I have, I guess it would be considered a conflict with Bolt Center, but I don't have any within District 4.
Patterson?
Thank you, Warden. I am a member of the board of the Bullarby Island Connected Society, BICS. So therefore, I would speak on the discussion.
Some report?
Yes, I have a conflict. I sit on the board of the Little Narrows Community Development Association, and I also have a discussion point as well about one of the applications that was put in for a grant.
Councillor Kerr?
Three. I'm a director with the Baddeck Lions Club. I'm also on the board with St. Mark's Hall, and I'm a member of Knox Church.
So Donovan?
I have a conflict with, I am also the president of the Royal Canadian Legion in Ingonish, so I have a conflict there.
Have conflict with clans. Councillor Hennick?
The manager for North Highlands Community Museum, so I have a conflict of interest there and also with clans.
Okay, I guess we can start. Alex, does anyone have any questions for Alex, or can we start there?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Hennick?
I'm just wondering about the stuff that's in the yellow. Like you have it highlighted in yellow, right? So for some, I was thinking it was because it was capital, so or then it's only a third of what they had asked for, right?
Yeah.
But some of it is not, so that's why I'm confused.
So anything that's yellow in the summary page is because we, as the committee, modified the ask because what they ask doesn't meet the policy. So both capital and development grants, you can only ask for a third of your total project. So some of the grants came in, the project was 10,000 and they asked for 10,000. The committee took a review of all of those, and instead of the first column in the yellow is what they asked for, and then the like associated line that's yellow is what the committee modified it strictly based on the policy. So I think almost all of them are the third. Yeah.
Yeah, really, just that I seen like one asked, just say for instance, 10,000 and the ask or what percentage was 4,000. So that's not really a third, that's over the third. And then yeah, there was one that they asked for 2,000 and then they got 2,000 or so I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah, so it's a third of the total project column, not of the ask. So the highlighted one is the original ask, like the column on the left is the original ask, that's yellow. The column that's next to it, that's the total project. So it has to be a third of the total project. So
Parameters in the grant process or the grant application for capital
asks. If it's a capital ask, they can ask for 1/3 of the project cost up to a maximum of 20,000. Yep. So development is different. Development is an ask up to 10,000, but there's no 1/3 on it.
No, there is a
There's
third
a
for
third?
development. Yeah. So operating it is, there's no, it's up to 10,000, but development is for, like events or festivals or like one-time things that are very specific. And it also has the third criteria in it.
Clear as mud to you now?
That's why,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why the administration went through and did the first glance on those, got them to what a possible ask could be, and then scored based on what that possible. So sometimes the asks come in and they just put a number down. So we make sure that it fits within the policy and that the number starting from is the correct number to start from. So Alex highlighted those in yellow to say that there was a change on those.
Or sometimes people submit applications and don't tell us how much money
Well,
they
exactly,
want. That actually does happen. They give us the whole breakdown.
We've seen a couple of those.
Right. And right on the main thing is like, how much are you asking for? And it's blank. So there was one that we really couldn't figure it out. So we contacted the organization to ask, but if it's capital and they gave us the total, even if it's blank, we just put in a third. So then it would be yellow as well to say like, we are messing with the number because we are making sure it meets policy.
Any other, Councilor Matheson Ford?
Yes, I went through all of the grant applications and I saw a venue that I know for a fact has a global reach, a tourist place that has a global reach. And when they filled out their application, they only clicked one district. When other places, other organizations that have the same reach clicked all 8 districts. So what happens in an application form when I know for a fact they should have clicked all 8 districts, because how weighted is that if they only showed representation for one district?
So we scored based on what was in the application. So the self-reporting of districts was actually a new thing this year that was added. We used to assume based on what we know about the organizations, what their reach was. And then we heard feedback about geographic equity and all those conversations. So then we asked organizations where they feel like they reach. So if they put one, we evaluated based on that. And one of the criteria is geography.
That would have affected whether they got a 75% or 100, most likely in the score. If it had bumped them down, something like that would have been weighted and would have affected their ask.
It would have been, yeah.
Right. So all I can do is advise them next year when they're filling it out that, because I know for a fact it should have been, it's a global reach they have.
Okay.
And
so, I mean, like I said, we followed it to the
I
letter,
understand.
but ultimately it also is council's decision. So that's why we're here. So if councilors know more about the organization that should influence these decisions, now is the time to have those conversations.
Well, that's the input I wanted to know, because I know for a fact it's filled out incorrectly, but I don't feel comfortable in the sense going to them saying, you cost yourself money.
Lobby on you.
But I'd like to lobby actually on their behalf.
As long as you don't have a conflict of interest.
Well, I'm not sitting on a board for these groups. I mean, it's in my district, but I have absolutely no association with it other than that. Told me when I started going through all the applications and I saw that they had clicked one district, and I thought, you're a major tourist venue with a global reach. What it is, it's Highland Village. They clicked one district. And their links alone with Scotland, just with Scotland alone, but I've seen their advertising in Asia. So I would like to advocate and say that if weighted differently, because I noticed that they were given 75% funding when other ones. So I just wanted to make sure I checked to see if that specific thing. And it was only clicked once, so they get clicked. Rosello was saying on another spreadsheet, it shows all. So did you guys go and change that? Because I was just going based on the application.
So that column that's in this spreadsheet, that is from last year. So that is when we used to assess them. We used to say all. We
And it
did
shows
not
from last year.
but we did not use that to score. We used what was included in the application.
I wanted to check.
Yeah, and I can't speak to how people individually scored. Yeah.
So Patterson?
Thank you. Just on the property relief, this, Alex,
Yeah, I'm gonna go over that one next.
next, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna break them into two recommendations.
Yes, Alex, but like to appeal the one for Baddeck Bay Golf Society as well, because on behalf of myself and Councillor McLeod, it's basically her area that the group is from, but it encompasses around 30 children that this looks after during the year. And that's a very small amount to be paying towards it.
If you want to take that the next step, what are you proposing? So this is the discussion time where you guys can say this stuff. So,
I'd propose that we would add 1,000 to that.
okay, so Alex will mark these down for whatever proposals there are, and then we'll see if everybody, where council lands on any of them. Deputy Warden's email to me but go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. I had the same question about districts, because I had a few community organizations in District 4 that they put down just one district. When I read them, I know they encompass a lot more. So with that being said, I do have a request for council to consider, and there's two, well, actually technically three, I guess, and it would be the first one for South Haven Community Hall. They're in the 25% for the weighted for the capital expense, and my request is just to move them to the 50%, just to nudge them up one. And the second one would be the South Haven Community Operational Fund. They're in the 50% mark, and I would like to nudge them up to the 75. Again, they are a community hall that is a comfort center as well. So that was my request. And then my second request was for Englishtown Community Hall operational to go from 50% up to 75%. The overall ask would be from $1,813 to $3,001. So it's a $1,188 request if we could move them up. Thank you.
Okay, if this is the step of making formal requests, I'm going to request that both the Highland Village capital and development, basically they're in 75%. And I really think that the form incurrently being filled out like that, they should be bumped up to the 100%.
So I just want to note to make you all, just to remind you all, you wanted a rubric. There was a rubric provided. We passed a budget where council decided on the dollar amount that was there as well. So just reminding you, because if we're adding into here, we're going to have to do something somewhere else as well. Councillor.
Well, I just wanted to reinstate the fact that there are other ones in my district that have not been given 100%, but I agreed with the decision based on what I saw in their applications. With me, it was simply with Highland Village, it's an obvious omission / error that I really think affected their scoring. So, thank you.
Councillor Hennick?
Yes, I'd like to, maybe to bump up the Legion for Ingonish 105, for their request. I just feel that it's what they request for and what they were given. It was, just looking at it here. Let me go up one. They asked was 3,000 something, and they were only given 700 and something. And it was for a wheelchair ramp accessory for the veterans. So I really think that that one should be put up. I have other ones, but it's a conflict of interest, so I'll back off that one. But I really think that it's, I really think that the Legion should get a little more.
We need to know what you're requesting on that one as well.
At least put it another 1,000 onto it anyway for their request.
Thanks.
Alex, I'm looking for, I can't find it right now, Raising the Village. What is the ask and the amount for that one? That was,
So they have a development grant. They requested $5,000. They're in the 25% funding, so 1,250. It was scored using the letter of support, so that should be discussed. I would recommend.
I'm not happy with that one. I would like to see that taken off the table altogether.
I agree.
Was misrepresentation and in their application. And do we want a motion for that or? I think, no, good.
Full discussion here, which we're going to do a motion overall. So.
Yeah, there was just one for Raising the Villages. Yeah.
There's just one that I saw here that kind of, and basically it's because very recently we were at a discussion about signage and wayfinding in Victoria County. And I know that signage is not inexpensive. And there was a request made by, I will find it. Oh, it's here.
The North Highlands Community Museum.
Signage, yes.
Yeah.
Their ask, 1/3 was $867.79. And they were allotted $563. And I really don't think $563 is enough to do the signs. I mean, I know that should be bumped up, especially because we have very recently had meetings about wayfinding and signage in the areas, and there are many, many more, but I think it's, especially because they do cater to tourism as well.
Yep. And I think that the reason that that one was scored the way that it was is because we're doing our own wayfinding RFP for signage. So there will be signage support through the municipality
Oh,
in another way as well. Dan, correct? Yes.
Any other questions or concerns or comments? Oh, Counselor?
I just have a comment about the rubrics. They were amazing. They were great. Thank you, Alex. I got a peek at the rubrics. I was allowed some input on the rubrics, and I think they were fantastic. So if any of the counselors do have any doubts about some of the money that was allocated, if maybe the counselors, I don't know if every counselor saw the rubric, but they're amazing. So there's not too many things that would slip through other than incorrectly written out applications that I would see sliding through there. So anyway, thank you for those. They were great, Alex.
Yeah, I think from the committee's perspective, it was great. Like last year when we did it, we had these conversations, but then they weren't necessarily documented. So then we got here and it was tough to say, well, we did that, but we didn't actually have the backup for it. So this time it worked really, really well. Evan?
I'm just curious, was there much of an issue with incomplete or incorrectly filed applications?
Yes. If Steph was here, I would give her the microphone. Yeah, it is a real issue. So we, Natasha and Steph have already put a lot of work in already for next year, where we are going to be putting an application online, mandatory fields. If organizations need help filling them out, we'll do it. But there is such an issue with incomplete that we have to go back to stations. We're guessing what they're asking for. So we are definitely going to take action next year to start addressing that.
Because I'm just thinking like that it may be a source of disappointment for some organizations if they don't fill them out correctly.
Yeah.
And they don't get near what they're asking for.
Right. And like on the flip side of that, we are also very generous. Like if you don't put in how much you're asking for a capital project, we assume you want 1/3. Maybe an organization wants 1/6, and we're putting that number in. So yeah, the process is constantly evolving, and that will be the next step.
Thanks.
Okay. So does council want to quantify these changes, or just what's the next step here? Because there is money, there was 10,569 not budgeted, so there was a buffer for this kind of stuff, but I would have to do the math, which maybe I could do when I go sit down and then come back up before council's over.
Think so.
Yeah, I'd say that that's probably a good idea to come up with. Well, I think we need to know what specifically what it was. So there was what I wrote down. I missed one, I think of Donna's, but Baddeck Golf, $1,000. Is everyone okay with that? An extra $1,000. Everyone good with that? South Haven, both projects moving up one tier from where they were. Highland Village moving up a tier. Englishtown was the other one. Oh, it was you. Sorry, it was yours that I missed one. Up a tier. Ingonish Legion, an extra 1,000. And Raising the Villages, nothing. I believe that was all the changes.
There was the signage was the other one,
signage.
but
Yeah, what are we gonna do with that one?
Well,
So
if
for the-
we're bringing our own signage in, that will help them.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
that'd be
they
almost
asked
like,
with
that'd be almost like
washrooms
double.
and something else, and we are in the process of doing the washrooms one. So we felt that our grants or our application RFP was going to help overall at that project. So we'd help meet it.
Is that okay, Councillor Donovan?
I just recently was in Prince Edward Island. And I have to
Yeah.
say that their approach to signage and wayfinding is incredible. You are, it's neat, tidy, looks great. There's nothing, it's a model that other areas really should consider following.
Are you okay leaving it as it was presented on the spreadsheet for what the county is going to be offering for signage as well, or was there a change based on what we just told?
So the county is going to be looking after the signage for the museum.
We're going to be doing signage for the county for the washroom side of it. The funding, I think we left in for the museum sign of
For their
the other
sign
aspect
itself.
of it, yeah.
I think it was both that, I believe it was both that they were looking for. So if
Right.
one is being covered,
Yes, the washroom.
Okay.
All of the change, did we get all of them? Okay, so Alex, maybe you'll just take that back and do a quick change.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So then the next recommendation is just strictly on the property tax relief grants. So the rubric has not been used on these ones because it's a more overall approach, more straightforward. And it's basically, are they eligible or are they not eligible? And if they are eligible, is it 100% relief or is it a rate reduction from the commercial tax rate to the residential tax rate? So we used the same approach that we did last year. So of the asks that came in, we had one organization that we said was ineligible under the grant policy criteria, which is the Cape Breton Bible Camp. And then the support for that was included in the report. And then we have two organizations that we indicated are revenue generating. And this is the same approach that was done last year, where the organization actively has revenue coming in that's self-generated, that we reduce the rate from the commercial rate to the residential rate, meaning that they do still have some taxes owing. So there was two organizations that were recommended to follow that approach, which is North Highlands NORDIC and the Verdure Yacht Club. And I believe those were the only two organizations that had the same approach as last year. So the total of the recommendation, council did increase the budget this year to $100,000 available for these, but with the one exclusion and the two rate reductions, and then the rest of them as 100%, the recommendation is $68,012.26.
Councillor Hennick first.
I'm just, so churches and usually fire halls are tax exempt, right? From Victoria County, right? When it comes to taxation, like.
So there's exemption through assessment, which some organizations are, like a church, for example, is exempt through assessment, meaning that no tax bill ever gets generated. And then like a church hall or a community hall, it's not exempt. They have the opportunity to apply for this exemption. So for many, many years, there was a standing list of all these organizations that year over year, the taxes were just written off. And then we came to realize that some of those organizations didn't exist anymore. Some of those organizations weren't filing their documents properly. And so we changed the process to that now all organizations that are looking for an exemption from us have to apply. So all the organizations that are on here are the ones that submitted an application for this year.
Okay, because I was just kind of wondering, because say with the church, say with Baddeck, they run their business or whatever out of a church that still does service, right? Because they're generating revenue generating, but where they're a part of the church per se, then that's why that church is not taxed. I was just a little confused on it.
Yeah, I mean, the property is still owned by the church, and so that's who comes up as the property owner. So the fact that Theatre Baddeck generates revenue kind of doesn't, or at least it hasn't come into the evaluation process, but it is interesting to consider.
And it was just something that I have, I had asked, right? I thought of, so I just.
No, it's a great question.
Right.
But we didn't take that into consideration.
No, but I'm just saying, right? Because it's in a church and I know they still do church, right? So,
yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
That's a good question. I mean, they could be partially, I mean, it's up to council. Is your question, is you finished it? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you. I get to ask my question now. Alex, with the commercial to residential option, what is the process for that? Can we do that as council, or is there documents have to be supplied, or what's?
like to change one of them
the
to that.
change, yes.
So what happens is once this is approved, so all these tax bills are already generated. So tax bills showing the total amount of taxes will go to all these organizations, but what will accompany them is a letter to say we are applying a grant of whatever, 100%, or if it's the reduction between the two, the letter will say we are applying this much towards your tax bill. Your remaining balance is XYZ. And then we just make those entries in our system. So it all comes from what is approved today by council.
So if the organization will get a bill, as you said, all the organizations will get a bill.
Yeah, so everyone will get a bill
Do
of the total taxes.
Do
Yeah.
they have the option at that point to request commercial to residential?
Any organization can come to council and make a request, but the process that has been for the last couple of years is that they had to apply by the deadline of grants, which has been March 31st. This year was April 30th to be included in this and be part of this recommendation, but ultimately it's council's decision. So if a request came forward, it's only council that has that authority, but the process was to have submitted your application already.
So if an organization got a bill and then they decided that they wanted to use the option of going from commercial to residential, which would substantially decrease their amount owing, right?
Mhm.
They could do that when they get the bill, they could come back and say, we'd like to apply, or whatever the process is, to go from commercial to residential
For next year.
for next year.
Yeah, so.
But did they know about they didn't know about the option when they applied?
So it's part of the application, the grant application. There's a tick box to tick off for them. So that had to be in by April 30th. They tick off a box and then council decides if it's a commercial to residential and then a tax write-off after that. So it's just a property tax exemption box that organizations would have to tick on the application.
So is there a box to go from commercial to residential?
No, it's a property tax exemption. And then council decides if it's a full exemption or if it's a commercial to residential.
Okay,
Mhm.
so would a motion be in order to allow a property to go from commercial to residential today?
That's part of this tax exemption recommendation.
Yeah, so these are all the organizations that followed the process, submitted their application by April 30th. They all checked the box that said, we want to be considered for a property tax relief grant.
Mhm.
Of those organizations, 2 of them, the committee is recommending that it's the reduction from the commercial to residential, based on the types of organizations they are, but that is something that is not included in the application. That is something that the committee has recommended last year and again this year.
So the committee is recommending that 2 of the present list go from commercial to residential?
Yes. Yeah, the Baddeck Yacht Club and North Highlands Nordic.
I'm sorry, Alice, which are 2?
The Baddeck Yacht Club,
Oh,
number
okay.
21, and number 18, North Highlands Nordic.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, what's on the spreadsheet here. So I guess my question is, why were those 2 recommended and not others?
So I'll say again, we did the same approach that we did last year, where all of these organizations that are listed do not have self-generated revenue as far as we understand. They're relying on sources of funding or municipal funding or provincial funding. And those two organizations are nonprofits, but operate as a business. So they are setting prices to generate revenue. So that was the recommendation.
Okay, so,
Oh, sorry.
so again, my question, would the motion be in order to, move an organization from commercial to residential?
That's not on this list?
It's on the list.
So you're going to do a motion overall for commercial to residential for those two, if you choose, if that's in agreement. And then you're going to do a motion to write off the rest of the tax exemptions as well.
So all of the rest of the organizations, except the Cape Breton Bible Camp,
Mhm.
are 100%. So if it's the Bible camp that you are discussing
Mhm.
right now, there just would be a change overall in the recommendation to say that one, your council is recommending that one get the same.
So could I move that the Bible camp go from commercial to residential? That's my question.
That is ultimately council's decision to make. So the committee determined that it was ineligible under the policy. So that's,
Alex, if it's ineligible for the policy, would we have to change the policy to include them into changing them from commercial to residential?
I mean, I would think that would be a good practice, but it's ultimately council's decision. And if they approve something that goes against policy, like the final say is your collective say.
Council approved the policy. And then if that's the same as the rubric, all that was approved also. So if you're making changes, that's another one that you can choose as council to be outside of your policy if you chose so as well.
Okay, so I move that the Cape Breton Bible Camp be changed from commercial assessment to residential assessment.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder before we can open up to discussion here? You second it? Wait, I need a seconder to open it up to discussion. No seconder? Okay, it's seconded by Councillor Donovan, and so have opened up to discussion. Donovan?
Thank you. What was the reason that the Cape Breton Bible Camp was deemed ineligible?
So the policy has several exclusions of like strictly that an organization cannot apply if, and one of them is that organizations that promote or require adherence to a faith, that's what is in the policy. So this one has come up before. So this discussion took place with the last council. With the last council. So included in the recommendation report was screenshots from the Bible Camp's website. So like they indicate that they are operated by One Hope Canada, and then the report also includes so they are owned and operated by One Hope Canada, and then there's screenshots from One Hope Canada too. And so it includes a statement of faith. It includes core values, purpose, and visions that when the committee read those, it reads very much as promotion and required adherence to faith. So the committee feels that because that was a named exclusion, the websites of the Bible Camp and of the owners of the Bible Camp, which is One Hope Canada, do not meet the policy.
Be the difference of taxes if this goes.
So the total of their properties is just a little over 19,000. And if they were given If they were given a commercial to residential reduction, it would reduce that by $7,792.60.
There's a motion on the floor. Oh, question?
Just wanted to state that I agree with the present policy that we currently have. Thank you.
Councillor Matheson, report.
I would also like to state the same. I agree with the current policy. Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor of I lost my train of thought here. Cape Breton Bible Camp being changed from commercial to residential. All in favor? Against? Motion defeated. It's going to stay the same. Questions or comments or concerns for Councillor Hennick?
The tax ones that have the revenue generating incomes, although they are non-for-profit, then they don't get the 100% tax break that the rest get because they generate revenue. Is that the?
That's what's being proposed. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Alex, thank you for, so we're gonna vote on this? Yep. So a motion to accept the tax exemptions for this year. Can I get a motion for that? It's moved by Councillor Donovan. Do I get a seconder? Councillor Matheson Lafort, all in favor? Against? Motion carried. Can you do that? Go and just let us know when you're back. Okay. I think it's Councillor Hennick with the North Highlands Nordic request.
Thank you very much, Bear Warden. I just wanted to find out from council on the request from North Highlands Nordic. They've been messaging me and asking questions if council has made any decision. I was in contact with Diane Timmons about any kind of funding that they could reach out to as a development, sorry. As for a development project, of course, as they had stated in their presentation that they didn't get it in by February of this year here to do anything. They did acquire through ACOA, but they don't do the building parts, I guess, for funding wise. I know we didn't acquire yet the Northern Victoria Community Center. That was a request maybe that we could store their groomer in there, but it needs to have a heated area. Plus, it's not very secure to put either that there or the emergency vehicle. I'm just hoping that if council would make a decision on this, so because if, you know, we're waiting on approval or decision being made for Special Olympics 2028, and they would really need to get on this as their quotes are good for 30 to 60 days, but I'm sure they could get them extended if they knew they were going to receive any sort of commitment or funding from the municipality. Yeah, so that's my ask of council today.
So do you want to make a motion for the funds?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we look at funding the Northern Highlands Nordic for their expansion for space for the safety of their volunteer workers in their grooming area.
Councillor Hennick, can you put a price, what the ask was in that?
They initially sent in the letter asking for 100,000, and then when they initially got their 3 quotes from local contractors, it went up from the previous year when they got the quotes on trying to get the building funds, and they were asking for 125,000.
So I'll just note also, so even if they would have been in on time, if it's a capital ask, their capital ask from us would have been 1/3 of what that was, same as what the policy is following for the rest. So if it's 125, that would put it at 42,000, let's say, as a maximum of what we would have offered. But that's if it would have been in on time for the policy.
So can, oh, sorry.
But with a cap of 20,000, sorry.
So really, if they put the grant in and everything was successful, they would have received 20,000, say 25,000. Maybe. A motion on the table. We have to have a seconder before we can discuss. So do I can, second by Councillor Donovan, so discussion. Councillor Bourne?
Did they come back with a fundraising plan on how much money they plan on fundraising? So I guess for me, it's just about the numbers. Like, I'm not too sure exactly what, I don't know if they were sure possibly what the commitment was. So, and I know in the very end, she said, whatever you could offer would be helpful. So I guess I just want clarity on what their fundraising plan is. Also, the current space, and I know we're not sure about the community hall yet, but Leanne, would there be a potential that if we do have that building, that a portion of it could be renovated and heated? Because I don't want to jump ahead and do something if we have potential space in the future.
So we did go down and have a look at it. It's in rough shape. Yeah. There is an area that is there. I think that the man door to get to the garage part is, you have to go through the building, which I'm not sure is accessible at this point. And it doesn't have power hooked up to it, so it is not a heated area at this time. So for the near future, my guess is no, for the size that they are looking for.
Okay, and then the second question, because I know when they did the presentation and they had pictures, because they did have pictures of the machine and the area, could they not move out the snowshoes for now until the fall comes, and then there's the potential provincial grants? I guess that's my question, if there's a workaround first. So that'd be the two questions, that plus their fundraising strategy.
I mean, if it came down to it, I know they would fundraise because they did a lot to build the actual Nordic itself. It was basically between volunteers and fundraising that made that built the Nordic. So I'm sure, whatever council could help them with, and I'm sure they would be on board for any kind of other fundraisings that they would need to do in order to do this project.
Matheson LaForte?
My question is about the piece of equipment. I would have to actually be able to see a manufacturer's recommendation on that required that it be stored in a heated environment. Because I know of other groomers that do not have to be seasonally maintained and kept inside a heated environment, but that is dependent on the manufacturer. So I would feel more comfortable making a decision if I saw an actual official recommendation that was tied to a warranty for the machine. Thank you.
So Donovan?
For a couple of reasons, I personally think it's a good project. One, because I know that they are in the process of trying to attract Olympic events, Special Olympic events. And two, and again, this is my personal opinion, anything you can do to get people to put down the screen and put on a pair of skis or a pair of snowshoes is a good idea. It's a good idea. Get people to participate in outdoor activities. And if you can do something to help that, personally, I think it's a good idea.
Any other questions or comments for
Yes, Warden, could we possibly not give the money, but commit to an amount pending what they would get from their applications for grants that are coming? The Special Olympics is 2 years away. Is there not a possibility of doing that?
Anything's possible if we want to follow through with it, so. But we have a motion on the table right now that has to be either yayed or nayed, so, and then we can discuss other things. So there's a motion on the table from Councillor Hennick for 125,000, was it?
That's what they're asked for, but I mean, like what Jess says, if we could just maybe do amount, like say if we say, okay, we could put, say 50,000 away and then maybe in the spring and see what kind of budget that they, or grants or something that they could come up with and fundraising also, that maybe we'd only have to contribute a little more or maybe none.
We have to defeat the first motion
Right,
first.
okay.
So, there's a motion on the table. Was it for 125,000 minutes? Okay, so we're going to go through that motion first. And so there's a motion on the table for 125,000 for North Highlands Nordic for a building for their groomer. All in favor? Against? Motion defeated. You want to bring another motion on the table or discussion? Go.
I would like to bring up what Jess had just suggested, if we could maybe set a smaller amount for now and go back to Nordic and see what their plans are for applying for grants and fundraising issues.
Well, maybe not a certain amount. Maybe we should go back to them and see what their fundraising plan is, what other grants that they're going to apply for, and then get them to come back. Okay. With their plan and what they see in the future, and then we can maybe help them out, set a goal then, if that's okay with council.
Yes, and I'd like to put that specifically, I would like to request the information. I want to see the manufacturer's information on that piece of equipment.
So councillor, if you could
Thank
go
you.
back to North Highlands Nordic and maybe ask them those questions,
Yes,
and they
I
can
will.
get back to us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Alex, are you ready to come back or do you need a little bit more time? Okay, we'll wait then. Okay. Waterfront Baddeck invoice. Do you want to speak on this one?
Yeah, so I think council, in the past, I think Councillor Kerr came forward and asked that the tipping fees be waived for the boardwalk demolition or the boardwalk work that's being done down there. We didn't have an amount at that point. I think that the request was to come back with an actual invoice, which we have received from Waterfront Baddeck, or we've received from our transfer station in relation to Waterfront Baddeck. And so the amount on that invoice is
$5,633.24.
So that's where council could make a decision on what they wanted to do with that.
Well, yes, I'll speak on it. I was approached by the Waterfront Committee, and it's a very ambitious project they're involved with down there, and this would give them a little more leeway in the construction work and the beautification work that's going to be done afterwards. So I would like to make a motion that we do away with the tipping fee for on this particular incident. Write it off, whatever you want to call it.
We have a motion on the table. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Bourne, that we write off the tipping fee for the boardwalk project in Baddeck. All in favor? Against?
I'll just note also, we received an update from Waterfront Baddeck. I think Councillor Curry, you received that this morning. And we'll be sending that out unless you want to speak on behalf of that, or we can put it in the council
Can I do the
packet.
motion carry first?
Well, sorry.
The motion is carried. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay.
I've never used the mic. So, no, as I was saying, the boardwalk project is going along very well. The construction seems to be fantastic so far, what they're getting involved with. They have approval from the Public Works, but the street will be closed down for roughly a month to accommodate some cross cuts for the water supplies and that culvert that has to be replaced coming across there. And they're ran into an issue with the power cable feeding the island, which I knew they were going to. That cable went in after the Second World War, and it was a used cable they got when they put it in. So there is no way you're going to find fittings or anything else for it next. So anyway, that's going to be taken out of service, and the island will be totally solar. They're going over there and doing that with it now. So anyway, we can have this report submitted with the minutes today and go from there with it.
Counselor? Alex is back up. Tax write-offs.
So I did the math on those changes the council recommended, and it brings the revised total recommendation to $272,051, leaving a remaining budget balance of $2,949. So good job. You guys must have planned that. So that would be the recommendation to accept the report with the noted changes and the balance being, or the total grants being updated to $272,051.
Counselor Bourne?
Make the motion.
Okay.
Go ahead. I move to accept the recommendation with the changes
Second.
for the municipal grants.
Second.
There's a motion on the table and a second, or there's seconded by Counselor Kerr, but I'd like to wait for all council to be in the room before we. Discussion. There's a motion on the table and it's seconder, all in favor? Against? Motion carried, Alex.
I'm next.
Yep.
Yeah. So this was an item that was tabled from a previous council meeting, just to make sure that we had all the necessary documentation or background, I guess. So we are proposing writing off taxes for 2 property tax accounts. The first property is assessed to Bounty Bay Shellfish Incorporated. They currently owe $1,455.20. And the history on this one is that the account was paid for years by someone else that had nothing to do with that company. They just thought that they would get a tax bill and they thought it was theirs and they paid it. And then through a series of events with their lawyer, they realized that they actually have nothing to do with this account whatsoever. So it is what it is, but we have notified Property Valuation Services and this account is being made inactive. I'm not sure the history of how it gets to the inactive, or Property Valuation have deemed it as not an active account anymore. So I would assume it was probably some kind of mapping issue over the years that generated an account that shouldn't have, and then someone paid it, unfortunately. So we would like to write off this balance where it's an inactive account and no one is going to ever pay that balance because it doesn't exist. So we can start.
Want to
with that
do
one.
2 separate motions, Alex, or?
I think probably just one,
Okay,
if
we'll
council is
go to
good
the
with
second
them.
one then.
Okay, so the next one, how we have been talking about this for decades. So there is a property tax account assessed to David and Jacqueline McKinnon, and it is for a trailer only. So back many years ago, somebody thought it was a good idea that if you had a mobile trailer on a piece of property, the trailer could be assessed to whoever owned the trailer and the property that it was on could be assessed to someone else. Yeah, Councillor Donovan's face is exactly like it makes no sense. But that was the way it was for many years. I think it is still written in the Assessment Act. That
Yeah,
that is
it probably has to do with that there was mobile home parks probably. And so you would have assessed the land to the developer and the mobile home separately.
So we do have trailer only accounts. We don't have very many anymore, but this is for sure our longest one. So this is a trailer only. It was paid for many years by the owner. The trailer's not even on the property anymore. So the trailer is gone. So what triggered this is that we wanted to try to sell this property on tax sale, thinking that it was property. And then once we got into it, we're taxing a trailer that isn't even there. So one, you can't sell a mobile home through tax sale. Even if it is still there, it's still not eligible to sell as a tax sale. You'd have to actually go through court to try to resolve that. But since it's not there anymore, so PBSC is assessing it. They assessed it as like a 0, I think, for this year, and then they're making it inactive next year. But they're almost $31,000 outstanding on this, but because it's so old, the interest is actually more than the annual taxes. So it's just like snowballing year after year. It goes back to the 80s. So we are recommending writing those both off because there is no reasonable means of thinking of collecting it. For this one, like for full disclosure, like we probably could take some kind of legal action to try to go after the assessed owners. But where it goes back to the 80s, I think the cost would be a lot. And also, like, for many years, we haven't taken action, so that probably wouldn't be in our favor either. We have let it increase. So we are recommending that it be written off. We should note that the budget for tax write-offs by council is only $15,000. So this does total $32,397.87, which will be over the budgeted amount, but we are still recommending that.
I'm sorry, can I get a motion to write off these two tax? It's moved by Councillor Donovan. Can I get a seconder? Second by Councillor Bourne. Any discussion? All in favor? Against? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Litter and illegal dumping staff report from Natasha.
Councillor Matheson-Lafort has already mentioned references, but I had a look at her motion from, I think, 2 council meetings ago now, the first meeting we had in May, just to see what sort of campaign we could start just to put that motion into action. And so now that we have launched our Engage Victoria County website, there is an opportunity to use that platform to do some of this work as well. So we thought it was a good fit. So I did a little bit of research to see what other municipalities do for the education piece, just because where we don't have a bylaw officer, the enforcement piece will be challenging. However, some of this stuff could even maybe inform how we'd like to see enforcement happen when we do get to a point where there is an officer in place. So just the report, which all of you should have had an opportunity to review, recommends that in the short and medium term, we would look at a community survey to identify some of the more regular dumping hotspots, what barriers may exist to getting rid of trash, and community suggestions. We'll also just do an awareness campaign, which I think today's presentation with ACAP was great, just because I do think that that's a partnership where there might be some resources that are already available for us to use and to put out there. And then the third thing that we could do in the short to medium term term, sorry, is create a litter hotspot map tool. And so we can, again, use Engage Victoria County, the new website, to create a map. On the map, we've kind of played around with it just to see what it could look like. So it could be like, is this a spot where there's illegal dumping? Or is this a spot like that you've noticed the garbage can is overflowing and it's creating a mess, like that sort of thing, so that we have a sense of like which areas should be monitored. And then some other things that are included were the Adopt the Spot pilot program, and I found this Port Coquitlam in BC does this. I thought it was a really cool idea where different community organizations essentially like pick a spot that is near and dear to them or their organization, and then we provide them with the supplies to do the cleanups, but then they're responsible for the cleanups. And so I think it's a really fun way to kind of engage some of our community organizations as well, and really make it like a love where you live. That was kind of how Leanne had framed it when we were chatting. And so I think that it brings a huge sense of civic pride. And then creating like a waste guide. So we already have one online, but maybe just making something that's a little bit more engaging, that would provide a sense of like what services are offered via our transfer stations, when heavy garbage happens annually. Actually, like this could be a good opportunity to talk more about things around heavy garbage, like we had chatted about during that time. I think Councillor Donovan had some suggestions. So anyway, yeah, the report just outlines a couple things that we could do, and the recommendation from us is just that you folks approve it so that we could get going on the good work. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Natasha? Councillor Matheson Ford?
Did you resource the Divert Nova Scotia 2022 report?
I did not, but when you mentioned it just now, I pulled it up on my computer, so I can go back and have a look at some of those pieces as well. I did, in my longer term ideas, I did have like partnership with Divert Nova Scotia, but I just saw that there's a lot of reading materials and I just didn't have a chance to get through them all, so I haven't yet.
Thank you. It's really great, actually. Really great ideas in there. Thank you.
Councillor Donovan?
Just a couple of things. There are a couple of hot spots. The look off on Kelly's Mountain is one of them for sure. Fortunately, I don't see as much roadside trash as I used to. But I guess one of my questions is, why do we not buy law enforcement officers? It's like saying there are laws, but we don't have any police.
An ongoing process.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Because it's, you know.
Yep, 100% agree.
My other thought is, in these hotspots, when they do become identified, perhaps we could put cameras up. Because cameras can be a pretty strong deterrent. If you know you're being watched, chances are you're not going to do anything wrong.
There were, when I was doing the research, like it's really interesting just to like pick like whether like on the enforcement piece, like yes to everything that you said, but one of the things that I noticed, and again, like it's a more long-term thing, some municipalities across Nova Scotia have huge fines for littering. And like, I'm not saying that like it has to be that high necessarily, but like in the CBRM, like it's like thousands of dollars depending on like the level of what it is that you're dumping. And so I think like it's a combination of a whole lot of different tools, like the ones you mentioned, maybe like reviewing when we get to that point, like what those fines look like. And in the survey that I had drafted as part of this, which we can show you folks before we put anything out there, really does have, like it is focused on that. It is focused on like, do you support like a bylaw officer? Like, would you support fines? How much do you think the fine? Like we have all of those things in there, and then that way we'd be able to make a more informed decision when the time comes on how to address it.
I actually think if we're going to be forming a partnership with ACAP that in a subgroup committee, then all of those things are really good ideas and we could bring them to that group to come back with some suggestions on easy first steps. And then, so we've set short and medium and long term.
Councilor Donovan?
I mean, right now, the county does, I think the county does its part. There's a weekly garbage pickup. There's heavy garbage pickup. I find it difficult to wrap my head around why people throw anything out when they do have those other options. And again, I know, like in Ingonish through Parks Canada, there are several areas where they have waste bins and recycle bins. But again, they're looked after by Parks Canada. I don't know if that's something that can be looked at on a broader basis countywide, what that would entail as far as costs go, because you do have to go and clean them up and pick them up. So maybe it's another option that can be looked at somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
Natasha, you said to adopt a spot. Would signage be available from the county, you know? You see sometimes adopt a highway signs, or, some people might like to, hey, we've adopted South Harbor, or,
Yeah, I think in the research that I did on the Adopt a Spot signage was something that was provided by the municipalities that have those programs. I didn't necessarily like marry us to it, let's say, in this context until we know if it is something we want to do and better understand if we have the budget to do it. However, I do know that there are, I think, like also through Divert Nova Scotia programs that exist that could help with some of that material. I saw it was just, I have to look at it. I was looking at it this morning, but like signage like around municipalities that just say like, keep our county clean or whatever, just as like a reminder to people that like, I think like behaviorally, we try to touch on this earlier, but like I think about the seatbelt signs that are like, you see like the random signs on the roads that have the seatbelt on them. When I was a kid, like I'd see that sign and I'd be like, is my seatbelt on? Like you double check, you like, it almost just reminds you that exists. And I think like, making it fun, like when we were talking about the Engage page, we talked a lot about like trash talk, like let's keep our county clean or whatever, like doing stuff like that is going to help a long way. And so I think the signage piece is a way to take the messaging that we're doing in creating this campaign and really like reinforcing it to people that like we're watching and like we know that this is a problem and we want to, we hope that you'll stop doing it.
Okay, anything else for Natasha? Councilor Matheson Lefort?
Do we have to make a motion now to go further with the recommendations? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to begin implementing the short and medium term actions outlined in the report created by Natasha.
Motion on the table. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councilor Bourne. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Natasha. A CAO report?
Yeah, so I just have a few things to let you know about or let the public know about. In relation to having a conversation with Parks, I've reached out to them again, and they have responded, said they are looking to set up a meeting with between Council, Parks, and DNRR to talk wildfires and discuss Parks issues. They're thinking the week of July 14th or 15th, I guess the same week, but the 14th or the 15th, if that is something that counselors may like to attend, if you can let us know that if you're available and we can possibly set something up with this, I think it's a supervisor of DNRR that's going to be in the area that week. So does the 15th work for folks down there I'm assuming it will be down in Ingonish? Okay. That's a Monday, yes. The 14th is a Monday. Yeah, so it's any time in that week, I think.
She's working.
Okay, so I'll reach out to see which date is better for them and get back. We'll set a calendar invite in your calendars. Just to let you know, we've received funding from FCM Climate Risk Assessment Division to do flood risk assessment plan. EDPC is also working on this stuff, but we will also be beginning work. It was a motion made by council, I believe it was last year sometime, to apply for this funding, and so we have received it. The only work really that we have to offer up, or only administrative work, was having Lyle give up, I think, a day to speak with them on it. So they're going to be leading it. Just to let you know, as I'm sure you all do know, we talked about it before, we purchased the Cape North Community Center. Coming from our department heads, we had a meeting, and to let you know, EPR Circular Materials is currently in negotiations with the Eastern Recyclers Association to expand the materials collected at our recycling depot. These materials will include styrofoam, glass from jars, and glass bottles. I need some water. And film plastics such as bread bags, plastic wrap, chip bags, chocolate and candy bar wrappers. The municipality will be paid for accepting and processing these materials. So that's a good thing. So we're working with EPR to get the specifics on all of those things. Inverness and Victoria County Truckers Association have kept our material moving over the last several months, which has been a huge help. So I want to thank them for that. While we were without a truck for a while, we now have a new truck and chassis. So we're in the process of getting decals put on the doors, and we'll be back in business on our own. But thanks very much to those groups for helping us out through that. It was a great partnership. Some staff, we've had some new staff arriving, starting with us. They are fitting in well. We've gotten several staff back off of extended periods. So we know that the summer is a busier time. We've tried to staff up as much as we could. In water, we have a tender out for demolition of the old tower in Dingwall. It's been posted on the procurement site, and that closes June 18th. Our meter reads will be conducted over the next couple of weeks. Thanks so much. Thanks very much. Couple of other things, Bruce and JD, I think this is one near and dear to your heart, Warden. Bruce and JD have or will have put the stairs in at the beach in New Haven. Did you notice them on your way in?
No, I didn't, but
Okay.
good, there's new signage for the beach that is pretty exciting too, that a local girl put up for us.
Oh, good, nice. In tourism, our Sustainable Tourism Growth Initiative has been launched and is administered through the Cape Breton Partnership. There have been a few good expressions of interest and a few completed applications that have been submitted. The deadline has passed as of June 13th for application submission. And there's, in my report, there is a link there for getting to that program, but Dan was quite pleased with the applications that had come in. In our recreation department, recreation has been delivering the Victoria County walking series and delivering multi-activity teaching. He's delivering multi-activity, teaching participants to play tarbish, cribbage, and hearts in some different areas around the county. In community development, our IDEA committee is scheduling a meeting to come up to have some training. There's a few items in the plan that are being consistently or worked on consistently now. Our Engage site is there to showcase work and gather feedback on our IDEA committee, which is inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. Our municipal building accessible parking space requirement is being worked on, and the front railings. We're looking at acoustic treatment of the council chamber for those with hearing impairments. We have a few other small items to assist with more accessibility, and we are arranging a workshop on ideas for council and staff. And we're going to set some training along the way. We find it's easier when we have something in our calendars, and then you know that you have to do it. So that we'll be sending a calendar invite out for that very shortly. In communications, as Natasha had noted, our Engage website has been launched as of Friday, I believe that it was, Thursday, Friday. So that's where a lot of information of things that we have going on will be available for different projects that we're working on. Couple of other things, I heard from Richmond County, thanks to the Baddeck Volunteer Fire Department and other volunteer fire departments that responded to the Richmond County wildfire over there. As we're approaching wildfire season, please be vigilant and protect our areas. Lyle with EMO last week did a project of mapping out the Highlands after the winter rescues that happened. So that is something that happened last week for a couple of days. I would expect that he will be coming back and giving us an update on that. And those are the things that I have this week.
Any committee reports?
Could I
Councilor
just make
Patterson?
one comment?
Oh,
on
yeah,
that
go ahead.
report? Leanne, you mentioned about the hearing impaired, the acoustics of the room or whatever. When I was away, there was a company, Matrix Video Communications Corporation. They service right across Canada, and they have custom installments for. I mentioned we were using the OWL. And there's it's obviously superior because they're salesmen, but it might be interesting to just you can pop an email off to the contact and just get an idea. They do come east, so you know they may be here sometime just to give an assessment of whatever. So Alex, just a moment on that. Thank you.
I was amiss. I should have. Deputy Warden wanted me to say this. She sent a letter regarding representation. Okay, she is leaving the board of Destination Cape Breton. She's wondering if anybody is going to express an interest that would like to join this. It's a conflict with her work and things like that. So she wants to know if anybody would like to sit on that board. I think their next meeting is Wednesday, June 18th at the INVOICE from 10 to 3. That's the Destination Cape Breton board. So if anybody expresses an interest on that. Next thing, I've asked Councillor Patterson to do up a report on his recent trip to the FCM in Ottawa. So he'll be getting that out to us shortly.
Two other things, very small. We do bursaries every year for students graduating from the different high schools around the county. We're wondering if someone would like to present at Rankin, present the check, and at the Baddeck Academy. I don't know the dates yet, but they will be coming up, and wondering if the counselors in those areas are interested in doing that.
I'm interested in presenting the one ranked at the School of the Narrows. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. We will get you the information. The only ones we need are Baddeck and Rankin. So we will. Yeah, I think that's already spoken for.
A counselor's never ever gave him that one out. It's always been the teacher.
Oh, would you like to?
Well, I won't be there this year, but maybe Councillor Hennick. I'm going to be in Halifax.
Okay, perfect. So we will make arrangements for that. I'll get Steph to send out the information on what gets done. That's great. Thank you.
Any other committee reports or anything? Correspondence?
Correspondence was included in your package.
We had an in-camera session, but I was just informed that that's no longer.
It was an inclusion on the last council sessions.
Yeah, it should have been amended
Sorry,
at the beginning, but we just seen it. So being no further business, get a motion to adjourn. So moved by Councillor Donovan. Thank you. Yes, we've taken some public questions, I guess. Any questions from the gallery or online? Okay. Ms. McDonald, can you come forward, please?
This is not a formal request. It's just a question for discussion. So we had a request at the village for a few businesses who had requested that we, the businesses were going to collect some donations and that those donations would be given to the village commission for flowers, and then those businesses could be given tax receipts by the village. So we had a discussion at our last public meeting around whether or not, before we consider whether or not we would do that as a village, if that is something that maybe other districts might also want an opportunity to do. Sorry, I'm battling a laryngitis. If other districts would be interested in doing that for their districts, and whether or not that would be something that council would be interested in doing. And if it was, we wanted to make sure that we weren't sort of providing something for one district that other districts wouldn't have access to, because we know that flowers and beautification is something that places like Ross's Ferry and the Iona Port and all kinds of places in everyone's district might be interested in. So that's just something that we are discussing. We had businesses approach us and ask us to do that for the tax receipt purposes. So just, I had reached you councillors to try and have that discussion. So that was organically what I was hoping to have a conversation. It is not a formal request. It is just a conversation that we had had. So I wanted you all to hear that because there hadn't been someone at our meeting. So that's it. Just something for you to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
You know what that was added on there? I didn't think it was going to be in camera, but it is an actual motion. Steph just let me know. So we had received a note from the province on surplus land located at the Highland Manor, the piece in front. So they have made an offer that, or they asked if we had an interest in purchasing that land. We said yes, that we were. They came back that said that nobody else had put in their bid on it or their interest in it. So there is a piece of land down there that is in front, and it is worth, or they are interested in selling it to us at approximately $3,600. That land. Yes.
I'm just trying to find it here on what was it in on our package there? Do you remember, Leanne?
Johnson. Oh, I don't actually see your packages.
It was the letter.
Yep, it is 25.224 was the name of the piece.
Oh, yes, sorry. That's why I didn't see it. Okay.
So it is PID 85053866. Which is I believe right in front of the Highland Manor.
It must.
Mhm.
I'm confused because I thought Highland Manor bought that property.
Long ago.
Yes.
If it's right in front of Highland Manor, then it must be this right here, but I thought that the county had already.
Go ahead.
I thought that the county had already purchased that property for Highland Manor.
I think we made an ask, but we had to wait for the province to put it up or as surplus land.
Yeah, but there used to be a house there that burned. Is that the one that?
Yes, that was
Yeah, I thought that.
Dowling's place.
Yeah, I thought that it was already acquired by the county because it was when Brian McIsaac was the administrator that was asked.
Can you find out for sure? I think the Highland Manor thinks it's theirs. Which is yours.
I think this is the next step of it.
Okay.
Had to happen.
We stored stuff in there that's out before Burton.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is formalizing the
Okay,
process.
we're formalizing the, go ahead, Councillor Matheson Laforte.
It's on a different matter, but when are we supposed to get the updated total from Alex today on the grants?
We did.
What?
We
Oh,
motioned.
I thought it was the tax zone that we voted on, not the grant.
No,
the
we
grants.
did both.
Okay. Oh, I didn't see. Okay.
272.1.
Fine. Is this on the land matter? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Donovan.
Well, I was just thinking, I know that there have been instances where properties have been sold for $1 just to kind of pass them along. And since this is in front of a seniors complex, perhaps the provincial government might consider selling it to us for $1.
I can certainly ask them. But are you willing to go up to the $3,600 if we
We're
can't
willing
get
to
it
go
for
to
the dollar?
250.
So you want a better deal though?
At public gardens, not public gardens, but downtown in the park, it was like $1 for 100 years or something, the lease on the, yeah, in Halifax.
So
So we need a motion.
So I can certainly negotiate it. I'll start at $1 and I'll see.
So we need a motion to purchase this land. It's moved by Councillor Donovan, second by Councillor Kerr. All in favor? With starting at $1. $1.
We'll see if we can negotiate.
Motion carried. Yeah, motion carried. So can we go back to again that anything else before we adjourn? Okay. Motion to adjourn.